Happy 4th of July, everybody. It's 4th of July week. It's happy hump day. Happy whatever. I hope everybody's having a great day. Here in New Jersey, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's a little bit hot. I'm headed over to the shop. I had a crazy weekend. We were in mid-Ohio for Gridlife, and for the first time in my Gridlife racing career, I guess you could say, I felt really good by the end of the weekend with the car that I was driving. It took a lot to get here. We did a lot of fixes and just little adjustments just to get the car running right, realistically. That's been the plague for the past, I don't know, 2-3 months now, is just one thing after another, whether it was the transmission pretty much backing all the bolts out and burning up a clutch and a flywheel, or the fuel system having issues, or the throttle body bolts backing out at New York safety track. Well, at Thunderbolt, finding them at New York safety track, and then going to EMRA and the car's still having breaking up issues. So we got all of it sorted out for the most part, and I wanted to kind of share with you guys, what happened, what we're doing, and what's going to be the next step. All right, it's hot, it's sticky, I'm sweaty, but the exciting news is we got two awesome race cars together for the first time ever. Both of these were purchased with completely different intentions of their final state, which these aren't the final state. I'm sure something's going to change in the future. So anyway, we took the silver car to Mid-Ohio this weekend. It did great. I'm not going to bore you with a ton of different details on this car. This car was really running with a lot of issues the past month or two. We had to sort through fuel issues. It was breaking up. Weren't really sure about what it was. So what we ended up doing was, first of all, the throttle body almost fell off at Thunderbolt, backed out at NJMP, backed out 2 bolts that we lost on track. We then had injector plug wires popping out at Thunderbolt, and I thought that was the issue. So I replaced the adapters, which I don't like adapters. No one that uses adapters likes them. Brought the car to the EMRA event a couple weekends ago, and the car was still having breaking up issues. So we had to scramble, rewire plugs on to the harness. We changed out the fuel pump and cleaned the injectors, changed the spark plugs. Car runs good now. We had a couple issues up at Mid-Ohio, but by Sunday, we were able to squeak out a 140 flat, which the car had plenty more in it, but we were stuck at the bottom of C group, and we worked our way through probably like 8 cars that were in traffic. Finally got a relatively decent flyer when we did the 140. I think if we had some clear space and I didn't really, overheat the tires on the turn that I screwed up, we probably would have been able to rock it off a 139, maybe even a 138, which I would have been really happy with, considering there was no alignment on this car, there was no corner balancing. We're running on older tires compared to everybody else. Everybody else was running at least brand new fronts for the weekend, and we had tires on this that were at NJMP twice, and some other things like dynos and everything else. So the tires were, they probably are close to the end of its life by the end of the weekend. So, it'll be nice to see what this car does on some fresh tires. But, to each their own. And we still had a couple issues, like on this car, the brake pedal engagement is really wonky because we did use the Hone Development Brake Boost Elite. When you use this on these cars, you really have to make sure that you completely max out the threads on the rod going from the master to the pedal. Otherwise, there's like a 1/2 inch of dead space. And the problem with that is when it starts engaging, in order to heel toe, you really got to wrench your foot around, and that's not comfortable. When you're starting to get to the point of being competitive, You want your cockpit, you want your driving position and everything to be really good. That's why we run these seats like we do. Like I run a Halo. Not everybody runs a Halo, but you want a racing bucket or a racing seat that's going to hug you and hold you in the spot. You don't want to be thinking about adjusting yourself. You don't want to have to think about where your foot placement is. You just want that stuff to be naturally set up the way that you want to. So still have some work to do on the silver car, but let's talk about this car and what's going to make this car next level. All right, Luke, why are you not going to race the silver car at Lime Rock Park? Well, first of all, anything could happen, and we may end up racing this at Lime Rock Park for Gridlife. However, the main goal at this point is to be racing this car at Lime Rock, which is the OG race car. We've done a good amount of stuff to this already in the off season to get it ready, and I've been slacking a little bit because it's very difficult to build two cars at the same time. Contrary to what YouTube tells you, unless you have a shop, unless you have just endless time and money to just put into the cars, I do not. I have a business, I have a family, that this does not pay the bills. This just is my hobby and fun stuff. So this car needs some stuff still. So what did we do? We replaced the suspension, or at least the coilovers at this point, with the Fortunato 520s. And I'm super excited about that because one of the things on this car, I think that it's just maxed out on the suspension side of things. We had the entire car rewired. We dropped about 65 pounds of wiring out of this car, including killing the heater core, which is still in the silver car. We lost the sunroof. We put a carbon plug in. We are now running the Wing Logic wing, which I'm very excited to be partnered with them on. We're still going to be running the K-tuned front brake kit, but we're going to probably be changing to 5-lug. So that, and then we have some other suspension upgrades that we're going to be doing. We're going to be taking all the True Heart stuff that was on this car previously. Again, that stuff was put on this car thinking that we were going to do some light duty track stuff. We are not doing light duty track stuff. This is full on racing. So we've got Kingpin, front control arms, rear control arms, compliance arms, hone developments, rear camber arms. We have ASR's rear sway bar kit. This is the hollow bar kit. This just has the regular ASR kit on it. We have a couple of induction parts. So we have a new intake manifold intake, throttle body that's going to be going on the car. And then we have our power steering, which is the big add-on for this car this year. So we're going to try to make a little bit more power. We're going to definitely have better suspension on this car. We've got a new front end that's coming. And then a couple of other things. Like I said, we have the wiring done. So I'll show you again. I think I might have even shown you this already, but it's very impressive. It's very enjoyable to look at because this car has, if you look at this, you can kind of see it's very empty in here. There's a lot of things that are, just cleaned up about it. So, the other big thing is we're going to be changing out the transmission. Now, here's the fun part. This one has the built transmission in it that was supposed to go into this car. It's got some shorter gears, it's got a shorter final, and it's a plated diff. Everything that this one's going to get too, but the nice thing about having the silver car is we're going to be doing some testing to see how we can maximize this car a little bit more. So I really enjoyed the way the transmission feels in this, but I think we might be able to come up with a little bit of a better solution for this car maybe. So we have a transmission to replace, intake manifold and throttle body. Car's got to get retuned. Suspension's got to get put on the car. We're probably going to be switching the front out to a 5-lug. We have a brand new front end going on in this car, and there's a little bit of body work and paint that's going to be happening on this car too. And then this car is going to be ready for Lime Rock Park. So we have about a month and a half to get it figured out. The nice thing is, the worst case scenario that we have the silver car and we know that this thing can rip. I'll just make the few adjustments that needs to be done to get this car straightened out. It will be making some more laps at some track nights and maybe another event locally, not sure. But I think this car we could really maximize. And this car, I do believe, and even in this one, I do think this, with a couple adjustments, a couple replacement parts, that I can be competitive with this car as well. I do think that it would be closer to the top. And I think even in mid-Ohio, again, if this car was running the way that it was, if I had it situated about a month ago and was able to just tweak some stuff, this car would have been way up there towards the top. I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm going to be able to chase down the guys up top, because you got to remember something too. These guys have been with their car for a very long time. They've been making the adjustments that I've been trying to do on the fly. So I'm very excited about where we kind of sit at this moment. So we have some advantages with having two cars, me having the ability to go back and forth and test some stuff. So I'm excited about that, excited about the companies that we're working with that's helping me get to these points. So yeah, that's it. I mean, again, finishing 19th out of 29th was not ideal at Mid-Ohio, but to keep in mind the fact that we didn't have an overly healthy car going into the situation. Now, you know, my friend Mario Moroni ended up having a motor blow on him, and he still finished much higher than me. But he's been with that car for a very long time. He's turned a lot of laps at Mid-Ohio, won last year. You know, so again, I'm not making excuses. I just think that, you know, given a little bit more time and a little bit more development on these cars, we're going to be a contender. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Guys, we're going to do a little bit more smaller events. I'm probably going to bring you along for those. I really wanted to do some stuff at Mid-Ohio as far as content's concerned, but we just had too many things. And when you're by yourself trying to figure out issues, it's not as easy to record too. So we'll try to get on top of that. Thank you guys. I appreciate you hanging in here with me and still watching the stuff. So like, subscribe, you know the deal, and I'll talk to you soon.